little people have been up for about 6 hours already. But welcome to our first ever panel event on Joma Jewellery. We're a brand that's all about storytelling and kindness, and today we're going to talk all things motherhood. So I've got the joy of introducing our amazing and inspirational founder, Katie Loxton, who, of course, our amazing founder and also mother of 3 under 5. Thank you.
Yeah, if that doesn't get me any sympathy, I don't know what we're... I'm banking on that today. Thank you all so much for being here. This is such an exciting day for us as a brand, but also just me personally. I'm looking out to a room full of people, and there are so many people here who I've personally followed and have got me through some late nights. The tips from Heidi and Just Chill Mama. Honestly, you guys are the community that women so badly need these days. I'm really excited to introduce you to our brand new Mother's Day collection today. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the brand just firstly, and then I'll get on to what we're all here for, is to listen to our gorgeous panel. I started the company about 15 years ago with my husband when we were traveling, and we made these beautiful little bracelets, and they were like a little love, a little strength, a little wish, a little happiness. And this was way before the sort of affirmation zone that we live in now and the mantras, and it just stands for that, though it was still there and it still has so much meaning. And I think women really use jewellery as those little talismans to kind of get you through the day. And what we found is people will look down at their wrist and find that a little strength can get you through the day. And the outpouring of comments that we receive from our real customers is just so beautiful when we ask them to tell us what their bracelets mean to us. So this beautiful storytelling has become part of our brand identity. And so today is our first step into doing something a little bit more exciting. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our absolutely gorgeous panel here with us today. So Mammy to Jude, TV presenter, podcaster, Sunday Times bestseller, Queen of the Jungle, and such an inspiring and positive voice now in motherhood, Scarlett Moffatt. Come on in. Mummy to Joshua and Grace, and author of The Blend, which is an amazing book about how to successfully manage a career and family, content creator and board member of a UK agency. It's Tobi Asare. And last but by no means least, Mummy to Alf and Ada, presenter, broadcaster, and such a powerful voice for women these days, the beautiful Ashley James.
Very gracefully.
Yeah. Wow. This isn't that easy, is it? Thank you all so much for being here. It's just such a pleasure to have you with us today. And I think all of you are just such important voices in this space for women. Having had 3 children in the last 5 years myself, you need the village. We all need the village. I think half of this room's come out without breakfast, straight onto the mimosas. So yeah, this community is so important, and I found that I really had to discover that really gradually. But I loved meeting you all this week and speaking with you all. Scarlett, you answered the phone with an armful of Joma Jewellery on, I think, already.
Do you know what, honestly, when this email came through about working with you, I was absolutely buzzing because, like, genuinely, I love the jewellery. And actually, the way that we told Scott's mum and dad that we were having a baby was we got my little grandma the bracelet and had like the baby scan picture on the card.
Love it.
And
I couldn't believe that when you said that.
Oh yeah, and they just cried and cried and cried. Really, it was lovely. It was so beautiful.
It's such a beautiful way to introduce them to it. I love it. It's so beautiful. So thank you for being such a massive fan already.
Thank you.
So yeah, what we wanted to do is use our a little bracelets to sort of be those conversation starters. So the first a little bracelet we have is a little strength, that massive word. I found I learned so much about my own strength since becoming a mum. How has it changed your lives? What have you discovered about yourselves?
I mean, Jude's 8 months old now, and I think for me, the thing that I found out about myself is that I have the strength to be patient.
Yeah.
Because actually, I thought I wasn't a very patient person, and I actually am. Yeah. I feel like I'm a more chilled person.
Yeah.
I feel
impressive.
I do, because I feel like before I would worry so much about outside influences and sort of like worry about things that now I feel a bit sorry for old me that I used to even worry about it, because I feel like now, like, my strength is making sure that my family's all happy. And when they're happy, like, nothing else really matters anymore. So I feel like I'm a lot more chill.
I love that. I don't know. I think my strength has probably taken a different meaning, in the sense that I've probably realised that my strength, it's okay to be dependent on others to draw my strength from. So there'll be moments where I'm like, I really cannot do this. I remember when my mum was leaving, she stayed with us for 2 weeks when I first had my first son, Joshua, and she was leaving, and I was like, you can't leave, like, in tears. And I actually realised that it's okay in that moment to draw my strength from her. Like, you think, or I thought anyway, that I'm just going to become this mum and I'm just going to know exactly what I'm doing, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I think as my career has grown and as I've taken on more, I need more help. So I think it's okay for me to realise that my strength can also be coming from others.
And give yourself permission to do that, I think, is so important, isn't it? Let go. You can't do it all. How about you, Ashley?
I feel like just like mums in general are so strong in a way that you don't really appreciate in society until you're on the other side of it, or maybe you've got someone really close to it. Because I feel like I've always considered myself such a feminist, but I'd always be like a massive dick about mums, and I didn't even really realise I was doing it. And I was like, I don't know, just had this like real internalised misogyny, or overlooked like the importance of mums. And I think because we sort of grew up seeing like you had to kind of choose, are you going to be a career woman or are you going to be a mum? And like career woman was always like that's like the one that you should go for. So I feel like strength as a theme is like, it's not even just the one thing, because I feel like I could say like a strength is being able to like function on very little sleep, or like I feel like that less time, like you were saying about patience. I remember one of my friends, my best friends, she was like upset with me about something, and it was like, I'm just going to say now, it was really trivial. And then like 2 weeks later, she brought it up again. And I was like, how have you got time to still be thinking about that? I genuinely haven't even like thought about that. So I think it's just like the strength to persist. But also I feel like mums are actually like the backbone of society. And it's really sad as a culture, because I feel like everyone here, or like mums that you know, like, I thought being a mum was just like going for nice lunches. You know, like
I wish.
I was tricked.
I was tricked as well.
So I just think motherhood in general, I'd love just to like have that word against strength, because whether it's at home or whether it's trying to juggle, it's just like the strength every day to keep going and to be the best mum, but also be the other faces, whether that's friendships or work or whatever it is, all the hats that we have to put on. And for whatever reason, it feels like you can't, like, society still doesn't recognise the strength of motherhood.
And I feel like when you say the backbone, like, I feel as well like something I never realised until I became a mum, that mums had a lot of magic into life. So all of a sudden, now I'm a mum, I'm like, oh, so I'm in charge of Christmas.
Father Christmas took a lot of credit.
He does. That old man takes a lot of credit. And it's like little things, or like Jude's first Valentine's Day, and I was the one that like got little patches to sew on his outfit that said my first Valentine, or got flowers, do you know, like, and I'm like, oh, it didn't just happen. It wasn't some fairies that it's like a lot of the magic that is in our lives is mums.
And I don't think I appreciated that my own mum did that so well until I became a mum. And I look back and I thought, wow, you did all these beautiful moments for us. And
sorry, you sew patches on clothes. You're a better mum than me, because
I realised what sort of mum I sounded.
No, now I need to. I know where the magic is. It's at your house.
No, it's beautiful. What do your family say your strengths are about you?
Oh, I think so. I was never like maternal. Maybe we were having this conversation. I didn't think I was very maternal, but it turns out I actually am. And I never was very good at taking compliments. Like if someone said, "Oh, you look lovely," I'd be like, "Happy birthday." I didn't know how to react. Whereas now, like if someone says, "Oh, you're doing a really good job with Jude," or like, "You're a really good mum," I'm like, yes, I am, thank you. So I think that's something that actually, like, my family are really proud of, is that I'm learning to, like, accept like compliments really,
Yeah.
and especially about being a mum. Yeah, quite proud of myself.
Yeah.
Oh, so you should be.
Yeah.
But you normally feel like a big head. I feel like women a lot,
Yeah.
if we do accept compliments and go, oh yeah, I know, like, yeah, I know I'm really like good at
Yeah.
this, you instantly like cringe and go, oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas
No,
actually,
we need to
like,
do the opposite, right? And take up that
whereas
space.
now I'm like, yeah, I am, yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
full stop.
I think motherhood can do that as well. I've got definitely myself got better at that, and I just feel like you can appreciate what you're achieving yourself so much more. And I think, no, wow, I've done some pretty cool things actually. I'm really proud of myself for what I've achieved. So yeah.
It's so funny as well because we were just talking about this before, how I feel like in every area of life, you're like, I don't know, you downplay yourself or you doubt yourself. And same as you, I always felt like I wasn't maternal, but actually since being a mum, I feel like this is actually one of the only things that I don't second guess myself on.
Yeah, yeah. That is important.
good.
I think it leads so beautifully as well into our next a little, which is a little balance, that impossible thing. Tobi, you're such an expert on this. Tobi's written a beautiful book called The Blend, which if any of you haven't read it, you must. It's absolutely just beautifully written, so inspirational. And I remember like starting the book and reading that you said you don't think balance actually exists.
No. And even, I mean, every morning I kind of check myself and I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm like running around. And then I have to remind myself, this is okay. It's okay for things to be messy. I was running through Waterloo Station and my child must have been about, I don't know, maybe about a year. And I'm running, you know that kind of run where you're running, but you're not getting anywhere any faster and like people are just running in your way.
The rom-com run.
Yeah, it was the rom-com run. And I had tears running down my face. I couldn't stop the tears from falling. My lovely white scarf was now turning like a little mushy brown from my foundation. And it was in that moment that I was like, I don't feel like I'm nailing it at motherhood because I can't get to nursery on time. I don't feel like I'm nailing it at work. I just feel like I just can't get this right. Like, where is this balance that everybody promised me? It's a lie, it's a lie. But it was on reflection when I sat down and was like, actually, do you know what? You've gone back to work, you are covering someone else's maternity leave, and you have a new role, and you've never done any of this before. Just have a little bit more grace for yourself and realize that life can never be put in this very neat box on one side. Life and parenting can never be put in a neat box. Work can never be put in a neat box on kind of one side. It's a bit unpredictable and squiggly. Just blend it and just do what you can when you can. Have grace for yourself. Understand the signals where you feel like you're under pressure and you're overwhelmed. For me, my throat goes really dry, and that's the moment where I need to take a minute or I need to go on a walk. I just need to do something. And yeah, have a bit more grace and just, I think the balance, you just feel like you're forcing yourself to do this thing perfectly, and it's never perfect. It's never neat. Just, yeah, blend it, wing it, do as you can.
I feel like some days before 9 o'clock, I've like been for a walk, made pancakes from scratch for everyone, cleaned the house.
We need to move in.
Sewed love hearts on clothes.
But then other days, like, my boobs are cleaning my shoes because I've got no bra on. Like, do you know what I mean? I've ate leftover birthday cake. Like, and I think that's about, like, that life is about balance. Like, it's, for me, I've really noticed the days where I'm full of energy and I feel like today is going to be a productive day and we can go to a sensory class and we can do all this fun stuff. And then other days I'm like, today, son, is a pajama day.
Yeah.
And I feel like recognising that that's okay. And I think for me as well, a big thing was like following inspirational people on Instagram as well, who also, you can see that not everything's like perfect all the time. And because otherwise you can start to feel like I should be sewing more patches on clothes.
I feel like with the balance thing, we compare ourselves to these totally unrealistic expectations. So I always say whenever like mum guilt creeps in, like there isn't ever a saying as dad guilt. Like nobody is like, oh, have you got dad guilt? Have you got, oh my God, you're at work. Do you not feel really guilty about it? And actually, like some of my friends are stay-at-home mums, some of my friends are like career women, some of my friends are trying to do everything. And it's like, they're all like looking at the other person, wishing that they could do that. And actually, I feel like we shouldn't really compare ourselves because also there are just impossible standards. Like, you know, like even like childcare, it seems to be this dirty word. And sometimes I want to be like, but how the fuck are we meant to work?
Yeah.
Like, no one, like, say even if we're on maternity leave, if we take maternity leave, when the partners go back to work, no one ever would say to a dad, so who's looking after the kids? And when I first started going back to DJing, every time I went out, people would be like, who's looking after Alfie? And in my head, I was like, his dad.
Yeah.
I don't know, I left him on his own, like. But then Tommy went away for a whole week, and I was like, by the way, did anyone ask you who was looking after Alf? And he was like, no. And I was like, isn't it funny that dad guilt doesn't exist because dads are allowed to do whatever they want? Like, and also, I always say to Tommy, if he walks down the street with a pram, people basically like take their clothes off at him. It's like, oh my God, a dad walking down the street with a pram. Oh my God, isn't he amazing? Is he single? Let's go. Like, if I walk down the street, people are like,
No one's like,
God, Mum's so funny. Sorry, we're not really meant to swear too much. But I was like, that just sums it up. Like, if you see a dad being a dad, we're like, wow, what hands-on dad, love to see it. But if you see a mum being a mum, it's like, oh God, is she like a stay-at-home mum? Has she not got anything better to do? Look at is her child even strapped in?
Yeah.
And it's like, we like critique. And so that's why I think like the balancing, it's all nonsense. Like everyone's just winging it. And actually the more dads step up and do the sick days and, you know, do everything, then the more the expectation balances out, because I feel like we've got expectations from the 1950s.
Yeah.
1,000%. I love what
I want you to run for Prime Minister.
I love what you said about the comparison thing, though, because I guess we all kind of live parts of our lives on social media, and sometimes I sit there and I think, I've had a really shit day today, but I'm going to go on with my stories and be like, hi, everyone, because it's just what we do. We just have this armor and this protection that makes us, and there's pressure sometimes that makes us want to feel that everyone needs to look at us and think that we're all okay, when actually I'm like, no, I've probably just cried like 10 minutes before, but I've got this community to serve about motherhood, so I'm just going to show up. Yeah. And it's hard because I work as well, and sometimes I've got work colleagues following me, and I don't want to be like, oh my God, was your day that bad? I'm like, yes, it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just remembering that through that comparison, people are just having good days and really, really bad, tough, hard days where you're just like, I want to start again.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think that honesty is so important. I follow it's when you sort of see someone who you just assume has got it all together, that it looks like it's easy, and then you see them reveal something and you think, wow, that's just suddenly made me feel more normal and more human, and that it's okay, you can accept that in yourself. So I think it's really powerful, and all of you are just such inspirational forces. I've looked at all of you pre-meeting you for this and followed you, and just felt like what you were saying was just so inspirational, definitely. Ashley, I've heard a beautiful quote from you before about flamingos. You've probably said this so many times, losing their pink.
I feel like I can't even take credit from it, because I definitely saw it on Instagram, and now every day I'm like, flamingos lose their pink in motherhood.
But it was such a beautiful phrase, and I heard it in the middle of deep, dark, sleepless night about losing my pink, and I had definitely lost that sense of identity in myself, and trying to show up, be there, be at work, like put on that face, like you say, and sort of pretend almost actually that I was getting through it. And actually hearing that was just so inspirational, because I just think it's okay. And that sort of, it's a phase, it will pass. You can embrace living in the moment a little bit. So no, it's really inspirational. What are your top tips then on having a career and having a family? Because all of you managed to juggle that. What would you say? What do you put in place to make that happen?
Childcare.
Yeah.
And listen, like the debate is, it's there, it's out there, it's evident. It's so astronomically expensive, but it is thinking about what can you do at the right moment that feels right for you, and don't. Sometimes I like to see it as a bit of an investment, and I appreciate that investment is just so wildly, astronomically expensive. But sometimes it doesn't necessarily need to be paid for. It could be a neighbour whilst you just pop to kind of an appointment or an interview. It could be a friend. It could be, I've got a friend who is on her third baby, and she needs to get her hair done so desperately. And her friend was like, do you know what, I'm in between jobs. I'll just sit with your baby at the hairdresser whilst you do what you need to do. So I do think childcare is essential. And I also think that if you are in a relationship, do not be the martyr. Do not be the one that if the baby's sick all the time or the child is sick all the time, you'd be like, I'll just do it. I'll just leave work. I'll just escape.
That's a tough one to not do in the moment.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that there may be some situations or some households where, you have to be that person, but I think don't automatically offer yourself, because you've got a skill and you've got a gift that the world and your workplace needs and it values. So don't diminish that for the sake of necessarily parenthood, but make your choices as you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I I'm going to sound random here, but it is going to go somewhere. I love Dolly Parton, and she said this amazing thing where it was find out who you are and do it on purpose. And I love that because I feel like when you know sort of who you are and what your priorities are, I feel for me work is really easier to manage because I can see what jobs are important to do, or if that should take priority over spending a day with Jude on, and not feeling guilty for like wanting to actually get out the house.
Yeah.
Like I do think mum guilt is a real thing, isn't it? Like no one warned you about this, but yeah, I do feel like when you have like a job or a career, it is hard to like not feel guilty, which is so bizarre. But yeah, I just think.
And even then, you said like having a day over being with Jude, and it's like isn't it? It's so hard to just allow yourself to do that. I think in the moment and let it happen.
But for me, I just prioritise and just think right. And once you know where everything stands in priorities, I think decisions are a lot easier to make.
I'm going to say the opposite thing, but I actually find babies so boring that I prefer being at work, and I really don't feel guilty about it. So with Alf, I had him on my own in the days for a year, and I was trying to like juggle work and him being a baby, and I found myself getting really frustrated because I just wanted to like focus and I couldn't. And then with Ada, I made the decision for her to go into childcare at 6 months, and like quite a lot of people were like, oh, she's so young, and like I feel like we can't judge because some people have to work, some people don't have maternity leave, but also some people do want to work, and I don't see anyone like judging dads for what do you mean you're going to work? And like I just think it's okay if you don't want to spend time with your baby, because actually since I stopped trying to like, I remember sat doing like finger puppets being like, what the fuck is becoming my life? In my head I was like, oh, I love yeah, of course you do. You probably do it while stitching. But do you know what I always say, like I would love to be like the mum like you are, but I still love my kids, and actually me having the time to do what I need to do on my to-do list allowed me to have those like few hours where it's like uninterrupted with them, and I'm not thinking about other things, and I'm not trying to juggle anything else, but I feel the most me when I'm working. Like I love it. And part of me also, I think my priorities have changed in that I was basically like DJing loads before lockdown, and then motherhood happened in lockdown, and actually I realised I was clinging on to that more for ego, because actually I realised I didn't actually love DJing anymore, because it's not quite as fun partying all night when you're like going home to breastfeeding or not sleeping. So I was like, actually, am I doing this because I still like it, or am I doing it because I'm trying to like cling on to that pre-mum identity? So it was like a big step a few months ago. I took it off my Instagram bio because I was like, do you know what, like I don't need to prove myself. Of course I can still DJ, but I felt like I was really like trying to prove to the world like I'm not just a mum, look at me. And then I was like, well actually, even if I was just a mum, like that's pretty cool, it's okay. And it's okay if like your priorities change and your career goes in a different direction. But as for the balance, like I need tips, because I feel like even with childcare, it is really hard. But I feel like all my friends find it hard. Like the stay-at-home mums find it hard. The ones that have childcare, that don't have childcare, that have nannies, that have childminders, that have nurseries, that have school. Like everyone's just finding it hard. So for me personally, it's about like being a partnership with Tommy, my partner, where it's like you're going to have to do more around the house, or like he's really bad on no sleep. So I was like, do you know what, I'm going to take it for the team because I can function the next day on lack of sleep, but you like cook, or so it's just like sharing what you can share, but knowing what you can do and that maybe they don't have to do.
And I think prioritising your own self-care through that as well is something that's just vital, and probably none of us are very good at. I'm certainly not very good at it. How do you make that time? What do you do to actually step away and look after yourself? I find it so difficult to do that myself.
See, that's one thing that brings me joy. So on a morning, I do take like 10 minutes to have like a 30-second shower and actually like put a bit of bronzer on and mascara, because then it does just make us feel like me. And then it also, I don't know, just then when like I'm very into taking lots of photos and like making scrapbooks. That's what I sound like. Mother Hubbard.
Mary Poppins.
And then I always think, I don't want him to look back on pictures and go, "Oh, my mum was rough." So I feel like that makes me feel like I can actually like take
Take
photos
on the day.
and stuff. Yeah, and like actually like take selfies with Jude and stuff, and like we're not going to look back and go, oh yeah, I was struggling there.
I kind of resent this, like, you've got to have self-care, you've got to have self-care, you've got to have self-care. Because sometimes I feel like a 30-second shower technically is not self-care, that's just hygiene.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we're like, aren't we lucky? Oh, maybe we'll have a bath tonight. And it's like, sometimes it's okay. Because I find it really hard when people are like, but what are you doing for you? And I'm like, sorry, I've got to now like try and juggle work, juggle kids,
And then get that.
keep my relationship together, and then you want me to try and make time for me as well, and that's before we even got onto the fact that I've neglected my friends who I miss. So sometimes I'm like, do you know what? Of course self-care is important, but like this is just a chapter, and like I can't wait for the day. Ages 1 next year, Ages 1 next week, and sometimes I like look at other mums who've gone out like sooner than I have, and like with both Alf and Ada, for whatever reason, I just can't leave them yet. And I say to Tommy all the time, like, every time he goes away, I'm like, that's one more day for the bank.
Yeah.
Like, and I've like clocked up about 3 weeks now, but I'm just not ready. And like somebody telling me, but you've got to have time for yourself, or don't you want to do that? And it's like, yeah, of course I want to do that, but like unless I know that Ada's going to be fine off the boob, or like she's not going to be like screaming all night, and I know that day is really close, and when it happens, like it's going to be like the hangover when it happens. And I know it's there, but actually it's all right if you don't have self-care, like maybe because you can't do everything.
Yeah.
But like whatever floats your boat and whatever gets you through. But I don't think we can say that a 30-second shower is self-care. And
What
I think
about
that's the
a
problem.
sheet face mask? Is that classed as self-care?
While you're in the shower.
I don't know. I try and schedule it as much as I possibly can, because I feel like if you say, oh, I'm going to do this, and the day just runs away, and then sometimes you realise you've just never done it. So in my diary, I have a very lovely PA. She's great. And we go through every Monday at work. We go through my week every Monday. She goes, oh, you've got focus time. And she loves it for me as well. So that definitely helps. But I appreciate that's not accessible to everyone. But for me, I've just never really apologised about it. Like I went to the spa on Sunday. I'm going to the spa again on Friday. Like I don't really. I've got.
You're living the dream.
I know. Kind of through work. And I'm somebody who wakes up really early. I know it's not for everyone, and I have my PT, and I love it because he is there to focus on me and no one else. And there are other ways I do it. So recently I took my son out, and then I really fancied sushi, and I wanted to go to this particular restaurant. But again, I think sometimes you hear these voices in your head saying, oh, I can't take a child there. I was like, I don't care. Like, you're coming with me. Let's do it. Let's go. So sometimes I'll take a child with me, and I do sometimes regret it, but I feel like, great, I've had my fix of sushi because I really wanted sushi.
Yeah.
So my kids just come on the journey when it's right to, and otherwise I just do what I can when I want. And I think the most important thing is to not listen to the little voices in your ear. Like, I love my parents deeply, but sometimes they'll be like, you left your husband at home with the children? I'm like, yeah, of course I have. Like, it's fine. So yeah, sometimes not listening to that little voice in your head.
Yeah, I love that. Ashley, you mentioned there friendships, and I think friendship is such a beautiful and important topic for our brand. It's the common thread through the whole of our lives, I think. How have your friendships changed since becoming a mum?
So before Motherhood, I lived on my own, and I had my friends round like 7 days a week, and my house was like the party house. So like any time there was any like remote sniff of an event, like people would be back at mine. And like sometimes my best friend who I DJ'd with lived down the road from me, and sometimes I'd be like, don't leave. So we'd just like have sleepovers. So I really struggled and still struggle because we actually moved out of the area, and big mistake, but we're moving back, so all is good. And that was a big thing for me, that I really missed my friends, but also a lot of my friends didn't really understand kind of like the place in life that I was in. So naturally some went away, some tried to understand, but like my good friends are still there, but I feel really distant from them because they are still they're still living their best life, and they kind of got bored of asking me out because obviously I kept saying no, but I know that when I move back as well, like things will be different because I've got way more of my circle there.
Yeah.
But obviously I've met new friends as well. So I kind of just think now that friendships don't have to be like everything. Like, you don't have to have one friend who's all of everything. And I also sometimes think, like, if any of my friends do decide to have children, like, I'll be the friend that I wish, not that I wish they were, because like, I even said to some of my friends, like, who were mums before me, I was like, oh my God, you must have hated me.
Yeah.
So I was like, thank God you don't talk about your kids, how boring. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But they were like, no, but we really liked that because we felt like our whole world was just about being a mum, and like you didn't even like see us as a mum, so that was really nice. And that's how I try to see it now, that like, of course, some of your friends won't understand and don't understand, but you can like pass it on if they're ever in that situation. And sometimes, yeah, you just like ebb and flow through life and you'll naturally meet new friends.
It's really hard, isn't it? I think, yeah, I find it really hard. Like you were saying, kind of the guilt from not keeping in touch with your friends in the same way. Just life is so full. But I will say this, I feel that in the moments where I can be there, I feel like I'm a better friend, because I feel like motherhood gives you more empathy for people in general. I remember once a friend was having a really hard time, and she just had a third baby, and I didn't even let her pick up. I just literally just went to her house and I put her kids to sleep. And one of her kids just did a poo, like as my taxi was coming. When she was feeling so apologetic, I was like, it's just poo, like it's fine. So I think there is this leveler that motherhood brings when you are trying to connect and relate to other people. I think it's really hard. But I mean, I value my friends. They're like gold. I couldn't do what I do without them, but I just wish I had more time to spend with them.
Yeah, so many of my friendships exist now on a voice note, like full conversations back and forth. But like, I'm like, I feel like I spent hours with you today. It's just like back and forth.
I feel like mine's friendships are a little bit different. All like my close group who I've been friends with since I was like 17 are all drag queens. So there's Miss Testicle, Miss Cara, Miss Hemorrhoid, Gucci Gabon, Monarchy. And when I told them I was pregnant, they were really excited. And I sat them down and I was like, right, guys, things are going to change around here. And I just basically said, I don't want to lose yous, because I'd heard so much about people losing friendships. And I was like, I cannot lose yous, like everything. So now, like, my friend Emma Royd bought a baby weaning book and like literally gives me tips on like,
So
have you made this? Have you tried? So I feel like I do feel really lucky in that sense. And then my girlfriends, like a lot of them have older children. So, and I'm just always apologetic, because when I think back, like my best friend in the world, she had her little ones when she was 24, and I would just finished uni. I was still wanting to go out all the time, and I wish I'd showed up for them more. And now I'm like, all the time, I'm just like, I am so sorry. Because you do, like...
Has it brought you back together now? Do you feel like it's close?
Yeah, like we've always been close, but I just never understood.
Yeah.
You know, like I did used to think, can't be that hard.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so sorry. Like, especially, you know, I'm so sorry. But yeah, like, I think... like it's changed me as a friend, and like you say, like now, like a couple of my friends who were pregnant and who were trying for babies, I'm like, I'm there for them. I'm like, feel like I'm showing up more for them than I ever did before, because I know how it feels now.
Yeah. I feel like I got the advice that I needed through my friends. Actually, when I became a mum, I didn't prepare for motherhood at all in hindsight. I thought I was just going to carry on life and pop a baby in my hip and turn up to work and travel around the world. And I don't know what I was thinking. I just wasn't prepared. But then I found through becoming a mum, it was those friendships that taught me so much. I feel like that village we all talk about was digital, but also those friendships there who suddenly came through for me and taught me in the moment, like, and actually really comforted me through those times of when it is really tough and you need someone to tell you you don't need advice. You just need someone to say, you're awesome, you're doing a great job, it will get better, keep going. And I think that's just really important through my friendships now. Family. So how has life becoming a mum and having a family made you look back on your own family life growing up?
Oh my God, I feel like I look at moments and think I was such a brat. And my parents, they're amazing. I used to do lots of sports. I used to do athletics. And I remember my mum couldn't find the entrance to Kingston Athletic Track. And I remember being like, I've missed my race because of you. Like, and I remember I've apologised to her since, because I was like, she was probably just trying her very best to, and there was no Google Maps, it was A to Z. She was just trying her very best to get us to where we needed to be at the right time and, give her everything. And so now I understand what it takes to just get a child to a play date or a party. So I reflect back, and I reflect back with so much gratitude. And I also think, oh my goodness, I'm nowhere near as amazing as they were. They moved to the UK when I was literally 7 months, didn't really have a network, didn't really have a village, and just managed to raise 2 semi-okay children. So yeah, I definitely look back with a lot of gratitude.
Yeah. Have you put in place things that you experienced through your childhood now that you want to pass on to your children?
I wish I could say yes, because I think my parents are awesome, and I think there are some things that they have invested in us. Like, I think they have made so many sacrifices financially so that we could absolutely thrive, but I'm probably like, no, I'm going to buy that blazer instead of doing that thing for you. So I can't say that perfectly, but I think what I've probably taken from them is just, gosh, what can I say I've taken from them? I don't really know. I just do my best, and maybe the work stuff. It's like it's okay to build your career and your family at the same time.
Yeah. What was family life like for you, Scarlett, growing up?
Yeah, I feel like I've took loads at, like, my little sister's here with us now, and there's like 16-year age gap between us. So even though we've lived the same life, it's like different eras, but we both have the same like memories in terms of those magic moments, and those are the ones that I want to continue. So like traditions like having a Christmas Eve box, like I did that for Jude, and it felt like a really nice thing, like passing it down into the generations, like, and yeah, just so much stuff. Like, I always think my dad always used to say like, or you can do anything you want to. And I think, like, I probably was, like, a bit overconfident as a kid of anything. Like, I mean, I could literally, like, chew an apple through a letterbox and add a monobrow, but my dad bulled me up so much, I thought, I can do anything. And I honestly think that is why I do the job I do now. Just, maybe it's delusion, I don't know, but I would like to fill Jude with that much delusion that whatever situation or whoever he meets, he can go into and go, yeah, I've got this.
Oh, I love that. Ashley, how about you?
God, mine's like, I don't know, like, mine's a bit more sad. I don't know, like, I feel like I appreciate my parents and everything that they did for me, and they definitely, like, instilled hard work, but I feel like in terms of, like, the parenting side of it, I almost, like, had a second grief stage when Alf was around, because they missed out on a lot of our childhood, and I can appreciate, you know, it's just like the sacrifice and the work and the things that they managed to do for us, but it was kind of at the expense of, like, love and memories. And I don't know, like, when I look at my mum, sometimes I'm like, how did I survive? Like, honestly, like, the stuff that comes out of her mouth, she'd be like, Ashley, have you never considered just, like, putting him at the bottom of the garden and just, like, leaving him there, like, in the pram, so you can get some stuff done? And I was like, no, Mum, it's -5 degrees. That sounds awful. So I don't know. It's like, I think I had to sort of accept that they did their best, but it's not necessarily like what I want to model. But I can appreciate, like, probably like you were saying, the sacrifices that they did make, but we want to do things a bit different. And I'm really lucky that my mum-in-law is like the mum that I sort of always wished I had. She used to be a nana, like, she's like your proper nana, like, just a real, like, maternal, the woman that I always sort of wished that I had. And that's not to poo-poo my parents, because they've all got strengths, but yeah, I think for me it was appreciating them as humans, but realising that, like, they did their best.
Yeah.
But I want my family to look different, and I want all the, like, things that you talk about. I want to be more like Mother Hubbard in like how I nurture my children.
Yeah, I love.
I mean, I feel like I'm sort of here sounding like I knit cardigans out of cat hair. I'm listening to myself back. I promise I'm
You're painting a good picture. No, it's brilliant. And then that moves me on to a really important topic, which I think is ambition in women. I think it's something that can get questioned quite a lot as we, even before you become a mum and as you get pregnant, I think there's a culture a little bit that women are scared and almost have to prove themselves even the minute they get pregnant to sort of still prove that they are still ambitious, nothing's been questioned. You speak beautifully about this in your book, Toby. Could you tell us a little bit about your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I listened to Karen Brady talk, and I can't remember the exact words, but she said ambition is effectively having a desire, this fire in your belly, and not quitting until you kind of settle that fire in your belly. And that fire in your belly, I think, is so personal to each and every one of us. So for some people, like, the ambition is making sure that your children are as good as they can possibly be. And for others, their ambition is rising through the corporate ladder. Or for others, ambition is being a really good friend. It doesn't matter. I think what I'm really passionate about, and I hate seeing women or anyone with heaps of potential inside of them and playing it small. Like, I know that I do that a lot, and I have to talk myself out of doing that, because I just feel like we have so much to offer. We're so multifaceted, we're so interesting, we're strong, we're courageous, we're bold, and we're empathetic in our own ways. So yeah, it's about not playing it small. It's about going for what you want. Don't let motherhood stop you from doing that. It may mean that you need to do it in a slightly different way. But I just absolutely feel that people should just lean into who they want to be and who they are, and don't be apologetic about it.
Yeah, definitely. How about you?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I guess touching on what you were saying, like, we associate ambition with quite like masculine traits. So like, you know, being in the workplace. So it's like, are they still going to be ambitious? But one of like my closest friends where I live, she's a stay-at-home mum, and she's always like minimizing that, or feeling like she has to, because she was like, but I went to university, and you know, she said, like, all my friends are kind of like climbing the corporate ladder, and I could do that, and sometimes I'm really hard on myself that I'm not doing that. But she,
It's also really hard to climb the corporate ladder.
But I also say to her, like, I could not do what you do. Like, you have your child with you every day, like, that could not be me, like, and you do it so well. And so I kind of like really resent that ambition seems to be reserved for like traditionally masculine things. And I saw this meme, and I'm going to totally like paraphrase it wrong, but it basically said that, has anyone ever thought that back in the day men tried to do like the more domestic, like traditionally female jobs, and were like, this is really shit, we're going to make out like this isn't important because it's better than saying it's actually really hard and we don't want to do it. And I like try and think about that sometimes, of like, and also putting your ego aside, like the DJ thing is like, just because you're before kids, your ambition looked one way, it's okay if that ambition changes, and it doesn't mean that you're less than. It just means that maybe your priorities do change, maybe your priorities have to change. And also everything's a chapter. Like, we feel like we've got to have everything figured out. Like, at 20, you're meant to have this whole life plan, and it's meant to map out, but what makes you happy then might not make you happy in 30 years. And it's all right for ambition to look different at different points of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like ambition and success, like, it depends how you, like, value, like, the way that you value it. Like, for me, like, success looks like happiness. So if I've had a happy day, I feel like I'm winning.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I don't even put that much, maybe I should, but I feel like I just don't even put that much pressure on myself anymore. Like, if at the end of the day I'm in bed and I go, today I felt happy, I'm like, yay, winning.
That's so important. I love that. That's brilliant. That's so beautiful.
But the way that you used to speak, used to like boss bitches. I love it. I'm just in awe. I'm like,
I feel like you're a boss, babe. I'm never going to get over the fact you sew love hearts on clothes. Like, that's bossing in a different way.
That thing, right? It's like how we define it. Like you say, like happiness is so important, and I think that needs to be part of our personal definitions of ambition. Like, what is it that makes you happy? Me, you. That needs to be woven into our definitions for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I saw in your book as well, just to quote it, that you said that there was a study that found that 40% of those surveyed believed that women were less committed to work once they had a child. But the work of, I think it was McKinsey and Lean, have in fact found that historically mothers have shown higher levels of ambition in work. And I think that's so important, and a message that needs to be heard a lot amongst young women and those going into this motherhood journey as well. Because I think that when I read that, I thought that was really beautiful to hear, actually, and something that's not talked about a lot. So I think we have a lot to do to sort of pass this on. I think this conversation at the moment still exists a lot with mothers, and actually we have a lot to do to teach people who are about to have a family, those going into motherhood, about this and pass it on, because I feel like it sometimes can feel like a bit of a secret knowledge club, and I would love to kind of be part of that, you know, moving that along and teaching women what it's all about and actually encouraging that with young women today. So, no, I love that. Thank you. Looking to the future, can you ever be prepared for the phase ahead of you? Were you prepared going into motherhood?
I think the silence.
I feel like no, but also I feel like different people get empowered by different things, because actually, like, even if I'd have decided to have read some books, I don't really think it would have necessarily helped, because I think before you have kids, like, it's quite, you think quite pragmatically, don't you? And even when I had Ada, my second, I was thinking quite pragmatically, like, well, this time I'm going to do it this way, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to do this. But actually, when the heart kicks in, and also, like, you forget their little personalities themselves, so you can have like big goals and plans and manuals, but ultimately they're all their own little people as much as we are our person. And I quite like kind of rolling through life, and I kind of take each chapter as it comes, whereas other people feel really empowered that they do like to kind of know what's ahead. And I think nothing can really prepare you, because even when I had Alf, I was like, right, I've got this one down, and then Ada's like a whole other ball game. Like, she's amazing, but just like they're chalk and cheese in every way. So actually, you're never really going to be prepared, even when you think you've got it down.
God, yeah, I remember I was induced with both my children, and with my first induction, I was like, right, I know the date, went to Wagamama's before. I packed this COS mini dress in my suitcase to wear after I'd given birth. And I put it on, and my husband was like, what on earth are you wearing? Literally, it was like literally up here, because I thought my belly would deflate immediately. So just a story to show that I absolutely was not prepared in any way, shape or form. And I think the first time around, I found the first 6 months really, really, really hard. Until I met Rosie, who's sitting over there, who changed my life with sleep. Yeah. Once we kind of got sleeping, I felt like I found my rhythm and my groove. And even the second time around, I think I probably felt quite similar to you, like, right, I've got this, let's do this. And then 3 months later, we go into lockdown. And I was like, I really cannot do this. But you find a way through in some way, shape or form, just about,
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, Ashley, I'm just like rolling with the chapters and hoping for the best. But I felt like I was the person that I read so many books. Like, honestly, I was just like, I felt like Einstein towards the end. Like, honestly, if I go on Mastermind, my specialist subject is like babies, because I feel like I read so many books. And then Jude decided to come 5 weeks early, and then the birth plan went out, and then it was a C-section, and I was like, oh, no one prepares you for it, because I just in my mind was like, this is the plan. And then so I feel like from even the day that he was born, you realize, like, yeah, you can't plan anything, can you?
No, and I remember thinking I really did think there was one size or one rule, and I was hunting for the rule with my first child. I was like, come on, there's so much information out there. Somebody's got the answer, somebody's got the sort of sweet spot that I need to, like, get everything under control, especially with sleep. And then it wasn't until I've continued to go on and have further children that are so different that I just think, oh no, I realize now why this is so complicated to try and understand that knowledge, because you really do just have to change with every child that comes along. And I think I'm either living in the moment or looking back. It's nostalgic, and I'm looking at what's past and, oh my gosh, they've grown, how time's flown, I didn't realise that phase has gone, and you're almost sort of, it feels a bit sad to let go of those moments. So I don't give myself much time to look forward and prepare, but I love hearing today, like, so many women who have slightly older children and looking, and I'm like a sponge now, like trying to figure out, like, oh, can they put breakfast cereal in their breakfast bowl on their own? I'm really excited about that phase. It's funny, like, you know, I just think now I'm kind of able to give myself a little bit more space to do that. So,
And that's nice to know that, like, people feel sad about chapters ending, because this sounds pathetic, but I remember Jude going from 0 nappies to 1, and like having a meltdown going, he's in number 1 nappies, and Scott was like, are you okay? And I was like, it might be hormones, so I don't know, but I'm like, look how big he is. He was like, I don't know, 8 pounds or something. And I was like, oh, he's like a little boy. He'll be in his school uniform next, but yeah, so it's good to know that other people feel sad at like little moments like that.
Yeah, and I think I can appreciate it slightly more with the others, that I can hold on to it. And now our littlest one, I'm just clinging on to those baby moments because I know that our family is now complete for us. So it's lovely, and that feels slightly freeing and wonderful to feel like I can embrace my life now. Like I feel like I've mission complete. I feel really proud of myself for doing that when I've reached that phase. But it's so different for everybody, and that can be such a different journey for everybody. So yeah, I think there's a lot to learn about how we can look forward and be prepared and just prepare that generation, but that next generation as well, and pass that on. So my next question is about the chaos, the brave the storm to see the rainbow, the magic in the chaos. So much of life with 3 children under 5 is actually just chaos. And I think that was what I was not prepared for. I don't know why I thought everybody would be well behaved and listen to me and do exactly what I said all the time. But they certainly don't. Where's it all gone wrong for you guys? What are those moments where it all just collapsed and fell apart?
I mentioned going to restaurants with my kids. There was a day I fancied Italian. I picked them up from school, and we're at this lovely Italian restaurant, having a lovely meal, the 3 of us. And all of a sudden, my daughter's on my lap. All of a sudden, I was like, why is my lap warm and wet? She was just literally weeing through my lap on the floor. And they'd already made a bit of a mess. And I feel so embarrassed to say this. I just took the napkin and went like this and said, can I get the bill, please?
Oh, no.
And there's so many moments like that. There's just so many moments of chaos. And you can choose to be a bit embarrassed, which obviously does embarrass me at times, or you can just be like that. They're kids. They're just living life. You don't know what you're going to expect. You just kind of have to roll with it. But I feel like every morning before I get to work, I have lived like 9 lives. Yeah. Like people try and complain to me and say, oh, I'm so tired today. I'm just like, really? Really? Have you dealt with kids? So yeah, every day I feel like it's chaos.
No, definitely.
So funny, Tommy and I were walking through Waterloo Station the other day, and we saw a mum with a kid whose pants were down, and she had a baby in a carrier, and she was trying to pull the toddler's pants up, and the baby was like trying to do a poo. And I was like, unless you're a parent, you just don't have empathy for that mum. Like, people are like children, but I was like, should I go up to her? Should I help? But we were in a hurry, so we had to keep moving. But I was like, that just sums it up perfectly, because you just know, like, you were just like, oh, I wish I could just give you a hug and like cut Charles' pants up. But I don't know, I don't really get embarrassed by my children's behaviour, and I kind of like, I hate the sort of expectation that they have to be little adults, because I feel like, I bet adults, especially, I've actually known stories, and I'm not going to say who, about a celebrity who had a wee on the nightclub floor in her table, and that's like someone in her 20s. So I feel like, why do we hold children sometimes to higher standards than adults? And I just think, like, just let them be kids, as long as like you're trying and you're engaging with them. Sometimes it's like toddlers. We went to Nando's the other day, and Alf wanted to sit on his own table. It was actually 11:45. You know, it's been a long morning when you're in Nando's before midday. And he just like wanted to watch Peppa Pig on his own table, and Tommy was starting to battle him of like, no, you have to sit here. And I was like, but why does he though? Like, we can see him. Yeah. And I got like quite a lot of like trolling when I put a video up of it online. But I was like, oh, that's quite like good for him. He feels like independent and he's doing his thing. And like sometimes you're like what different? Fair enough if we were like, we'll leave him here and we'll go shopping. That would be crossing the line. But sometimes I'm like, just let them be kids, as long as they're like not being really disruptive. And if they are being disruptive, people can see that you're actively like trying to manage it. Like, who cares about the rest? Like, I behaved a lot worse when I used to go clubbing, so why do we expect children to behave?
And like, I feel like most adults can't even self-regulate their own emotions.
No.
So why are we expecting this tiny human being to be like, actually, I'm not, this is a busy place, I'm going to stay very calm. Like, babies and little toddlers don't think like that. So yeah, I agree. I feel like we need to give little ones more credit. I feel like if you hear a baby crying and you internally tut, it's more of a you thing than a baby thing, because like...
And I really notice it when you go abroad, like if you're in Spain or the Philippines, it's like people are on hand to help you. Like, I remember like getting on a boat and some like just all these mums appearing, being like, let me take your child, and you feel like they just take the load off you. Or like Spanish mums on tubes, they're the best ones. They were like, can I hold your baby? And you're like, yes. And like in the UK, we just have this really like anti-child, which I would say, like, be the first to say that I was that person as well before I had kids. But it's like, why? Just let them be kids.
Yeah. I think there's so much magic in it. I think it's funny that there's a picture here somewhere of my hand with my 3 children's hand. We need to get a picture for Mother's Day, and I was like, perfect, going to rope the kids in, get them into the studio. Brilliant. And it's like we have a collection called Love from Your Little Ones, and I wanted to do Love from Your Little 1, Love from Your Little 2, and Love from Your Little 3. And so I just thought this was going to go to plan, and everyone was going to come in, and all they had to do was put their hand on top of my hand, which was complete carnage to try and do. And in the end, actually the older 2 were doing quite well, although getting quite distracted. And Archie was just completely screaming her head off, and the whole team were like, should we just do this another day? And I was like, no, we are not doing this another day. I shoved her little hand in there, she was fine, and we got this beautiful picture which looks so serene and so beautiful, but behind the scenes that was just absolute chaos. And there was only one picture out of about 100 that actually was sort of nearly there, her hands just in the shot. But you just make things happen. But I do love that. I think it's taught me a lot how to just let go of some of it. I'm somebody who quite likes things quite organised and know what I'm doing. So I struggle with letting go of that sometimes and being in the moment. But it's definitely taught me to do that, and I think that's a good thing to learn for sure. So we're very nearly at the end of our time with you all, but we have time for a few questions if you would like to ask our beautiful panel any advice or any questions. So we've probably got time for about 3. I don't know if we've got microphone or if we're just going to stand up and shout. So if anyone would love to ask anything, then please do.
I wanted to add to what Ashley said about self-care, and I'm guilty of this as well. So on my Instagram and stuff, I like to do my morning routine. I try and get up really early and walk the dog and do a workout before. But some days that's self-care, and then some days that's an absolute mission and an effort, and self-care is eating whilst binging Sex and the City. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like social media now as well makes us think that self-care has to be having your green juice every day and getting 8 hours sleep and doing your skincare and putting your LED mask on, whereas for some people self-care is just hair in a bun, getting the bra off and just slobbing on the sofa or whatever it is, and you shouldn't feel bad about that being your self-care as well. So I just thought,
No, that's a great way to put it. I love that. I really love that. Anybody else? Yeah.
I had my daughter at 25, and I feel similar that I wasn't prepared for the realities of what motherhood was, and I absolutely love it. But I feel like I look back at my pregnancy and I think, oh wow, I definitely thought that she was going to be like clockwork and everything was just going to be so smooth and easy, and I was going to go back to work after a few months. And the reality is she's 1.5, and I'm just about getting back into work. But I would love to know what's one piece of advice that you wish that you had given to, or that you could give to your pregnant self. Now you know what you know.
I feel like I wasn't even pregnant that long ago either. What I felt like, I think just, not, if it doesn't go to plan, that's fine.
Yeah.
I say, Jude was 5 weeks early, and I was like, oh, the little one wants to make an appearance. But, I think just in life, nothing goes to plan. So I don't know why we all try and, plan everything, because it never, so just, I think I'd just tell myself to chill a bit more.
Yeah, I think I'm the same, actually. I think I'd just be you can't plan it. And I was trying to, not that I did that much research, but what I did, I just thought that would be the answer. Like you said, I was like, that's what's going to happen, and that will be how it goes. And it just didn't happen like that. And I think that really surprised me, and actually what made me wobble a lot at that time and doubt myself. And actually, I think if I'd mentally been prepared for just any outcome, I think that would have really helped myself. And I don't know how necessarily I would do that or teach myself that looking back, because hindsight's the most beautiful thing, isn't it? You look back and you think, oh, that, I wish I could pass that on. But that's where I think it's really important to talk to women who are just entering that phase in their lives, and we don't keep this knowledge in a bubble here. We do share it.
I feel like another more serious answer would be have an opinion filter, because I feel like from the moment you announce that you're pregnant, everyone wants to tell you how to do it and what you should do, as if the way that they did it was gospel.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be really overwhelming, especially if those opinions are coming quite close to home. So just learn to just let it kind of slide over you and take the good advice that works for you, and just let the rest just.
Yeah, did any of you hear horror stories? I felt like as soon as I said I was pregnant, everyone was like, oh, my friend's cousin's aunt's dog. You should have seen the birth. And I all these and I, to the point where I'd be like, oh my word. I think that's why I did so much reading. And I'm saying reading. I watch a lot of TikToks, but sounds sounds better when you say reading articles, doesn't it? I watched a lot of TikTok. And some of the stories, I was like, oh, you know, and like, yeah, so I would say as well, like, maybe just don't put yourself through that. Like, just sort of disassociate when people start telling, just sort of go off in your own, like, Willy Wonka land and then come back and go, thanks.
And do you know what's mad? When I was really struggling with Alf, like from about 6 to 12 months, my mental health was like on the floor when lockdown lifted. And when people would say to me like, oh, if you think it's hard now, just you wait. And that honestly like nearly sent me into an early grave, because I was like, I already feel like the lowest that I've ever felt, and I couldn't really see a way forward. And for people to say, if you think it's bad now, it's going to get worse, I was like, well, then I'm fucked. Because, like, how can it get worse? And actually, I've loved the whole toddler stage. If I could keep Alf as like this age forever, but I know there's other good stages. But it's like he's been amazing, and I wish actually people would just shut up with like the negativity, because you don't know if it's going to be worse or better, or you don't know what someone's birth's going to be like. And actually, like, you hope, all you can do is hope that people have a positive experience in all of it, but then they know that you're there if you need, like, if you need like help through the challenges.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. That was a lovely question. So my final point is just to say thank you. And one of the things that we're very good at doing is saying thank you to everybody else. So if you had to thank yourselves for something through this motherhood journey, what would it be?
Being an absolute legend. I'm joking. Just for taking it all in my stride. You know, I wasn't ever a maternal person, and when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh, I really hope this is something I'm good at. And like Ashley was saying, like, I actually am, and that sounds like really big-headed, but it's all, to me, like, where mum's just like, are just wonderful, is all the things you don't see. It's all the research, it's all the like things we do to like, and all the magic moments. And like, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only person here who has a million tabs open in the brain and is constantly refreshing and like, oh, there's another thing that I need to research, there's another thing on my to-do list. And I don't like, even sometimes Scott is like, oh, wow, like, this is quite easy. And I'm like, yeah, but, like, I'm up at 1 a.m., like, Googling, like, how should I cut bananas to give to a 6-month-old? Like, and it's just all those little things that I think, like, I'm saying thanks to myself, because it's a lot, it's time consuming. Yeah. Even when I have a chill in the bath, I'm still... like, or like sometimes I'm my own worst enemy sometimes, because I'll have like a chill moment of my own and I'm just watching videos of my son. Yeah. And I'm like, this is your time. What are you doing? But yeah, I think I would say thanks to myself for that.
Love that.
I love that. I think I'd say thank you for the stretch. Like, thank you for accepting the stretch. Like, sometimes I do stuff like this. It's not often, but I pinch myself that I get to do this stuff. And I get to do this stuff because I said yes, and because I became a mum. And that for me is just like absolutely mind-blowing. I feel like everything that I've been really fortunate to achieve has been because I have been a mum, and has been because I've said yes to the stretch and doing stuff. So I think you really surprise yourself when you do something new and a bit scary, what you can actually do. So I say thank you to myself for just kind of saying yes and then figuring out along the way.
I love that. Thank you.
I feel like mine's pretty similar to yours, but just thanks for like doing your best and showing up, especially like, you know, I saw myself as the rich auntie, not the poor mum. So life like changed very quickly, and I feel like I've done my best, and I feel like I'm a really good mum, and yeah, like just adapting all the time and like dealing with the mental load and all of that stuff. And I feel like lucky that I get to meet an amazing community from that, and yeah. Thanks for that.
Well, can I say thank you to you, because I follow you, Ashley, on Instagram. And honestly, when I was pregnant and stuff, like you are like a proper inspiration, because you like you're beautiful. You always look like you've got everything together. And you would do posts and real stories where you would be like, today's been a good day. So then I'd get excited thinking that'll be me soon. But you'd also do days where you'd be like, I've had 12 minutes sleep, and like, do you know, and so like it is appreciated, like, just because you need to hear that sometimes, so that you don't feel like you're the only person in the world going through that. So I want to say thank you to you.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
But also, I feel like you summed it up perfectly on our Zoom call, where like loads of us don't have that like traditional village anymore. Like, you know, our culture or the fact that we live far away from family, the fact that lots of family work for whatever reason. And I do think like social media is the village these days. Like, you know, I was pregnant and became a mum in lockdown. Like, even if I had any mum friends, they weren't around and I didn't have like anyone. So it really was that sort of online community that I feel like were my friends. And actually, I think that's why it's so important to be authentic, because one of my really good friends who's in this industry, like she just always has it together. Like she has her kids around all the time. She's doing home cooked meals. She looks amazing. And I texted her the other day being like, how the hell do you do it? Because I'm still scared to have like both of my kids on my own outside of the house. And she was like, I've got a nanny. And I was like, do you? She was like, yeah. And I was like, you never say. And like, I don't know. Like, and I feel like, why do we feel like we've got to like pretend to do it all?
Yeah.
So I think anyone that shows up online authentic helps whoever it is.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. Thank you all so much. I really value so much you all being so honest with us today. The time you've spent, this community means so much to me. Just personally, I admire all of you so much, but so many of you in the room as well. Just, it's so important, and I just love just the fact that I have stumbled into this community. Like we've all said, I just discovered it by chance. I never thought that it would be something that, you know, I didn't think it would mean as much to me as it does. So thank you. We hope that you enjoy discovering our lovely Mother's Day collection. We spend so much time and energy, you know, developing pieces that have sentiment at the heart of them, developing pieces that really mean something. And our mission is to create something for everybody. So that's mums, that's mummies to be, that's grandparents, that's like a mum to me, those who've lost their mum. You know, there's so many parts of this incredible part of this journey, but we hope to try and create something for everybody. And hopefully one day you'll look down at your wrist, see a little bracelet that says, you got this, you know, and it will inspire you to go through your day and continue doing the amazing work that you're doing and showing up and being just wonderful parents and wonderful mums. So thank you all so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Please feel free to have a drink, continue the conversation with each other, discover the collection, and enjoy the rest of the day. But thank you so much.